Hello, my name is Stacy J, and I'm a creative puppet genius on politics. And today we want to talk about America's two secret weapons that they have. That is the 92% and the nuclear weapons, the nukes. So we're going to talk a little bit about it today. I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because you are very important. Your comments to me are very important. I feel like we learn from each other. So let's get into it. America right now is in a pickle, and it's still considered one of the most powerful country in the world. However, it's got a lot of inner turmoil going on right now. You know, our country is being driven down into what I believe is Elon Musk, in an attempt to make our country into a third world status for most of us, and still be able to afford to buy his vehicles. And so, you know, there's a lot of chaos going on in the world. And I think that during political times within the United States, although we have a very, very bad racist history here in this country that just continues to just grind from generation to generation, you have overload of individuals that use excuses on why they felt like they were going to vote for Trump, why they feel like Black Lives Matter shouldn't be differentiated between White Lives Matter, and DEI. I'm so sick of hearing that acronym, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Even though most African Americans did not benefit from DEI, now that we're seeing the numbers, now that we're seeing the videos of the people that are being laid off in the droves, when they're walking out of those offices, you hardly see any black people. Why? Because a lot of those black people were not being hired for those federal jobs. Now let's just call a spade a spade. A lot of black people are more so hired in education for the government, for public school system, maybe for the police department, for the post office. But for those cushy jobs here, I see that in the federal sectors, I see that it's a lot of black people missing. Black people that are probably qualified to fill those roles, because you got to remember, jobs like the post office takes a standardized testing to get into for you to benefit from that salary, and from a retirement, and from the insurances. You got to take a test to be hired on permanently with the United States Post Office. You see, you got to take a test to get into the military, an ASVAB test, and it's going to tell them how efficient you can be in a particular branch of the military, and which division, what can you specialize in. So everything that black people have entered into, we've had to enter into some type of standardized testing that measures our competency. And so when I hear DEI being thrown around, I'm just thinking to myself, who are they talking about? And as far as affirmative action is concerned, that's another dog whistle that got thrown around. And I'm so glad DEI and affirmative action is both done away with. It's unfortunate that DEI is no longer around for those who are marginalized and those who are within the disabled community, those who have handicap, those who are having to deal with health issues where they may have not been hired on from a traditional standpoint, but because DEI was enacted to protect American citizens, for them to be able to gain fair employment, that's what that was for. But when you look at the numbers, the number one recipient of DEI is a white woman. Then it is a gay white man. Then moving down the line, it is those who have disabilities, those who have not been protected because of their disability. You see those questions that they ask you, those survey questions they ask you in most applications now. Are you a protected veteran? Are you disabled? Have you ever worked as a disabled person? Those questions also go into that DEI when they're reviewing your application. Now, they can't discriminate against you because they ask you that, and that's the reason why you can decline to answering those questions most. And you can also reject answering the question about your ethnicity. Most times I answer the ethnicity as I'm black. I'm a black female. Those are all DEI questions on there. Now, knowing that, I'm letting you know, I'm giving you the initiative to know, to make your decision. If you do have a problem with someone like me, this is who you're going to be hiring. If that's an issue. But now that DEI is over with, it's again unfortunate for some, but as far as African American people, the overwhelming majority, there is a minority that feel as if DEI was something that was needed, but the overwhelming majority is a bit relieved that it is done away with, because now we can go into a job and compete. Okay, we can compete. Bring me your test, bring me your interviewing process, check out my references, let me bring you my credentials so that I can be judged on that. But America always heavily relies on boasting about its secret weapon. So what America has failed to do was to heed to the advice, the education, the warning of the 92%. And then what the 92% is, simply, let me break it down very simply in a brief way. The 92% are the Black American women that voted for Vice President Kamala Harris during the 2024 presidential election. And we were the ones that stood firm on our belief and our understanding that Vice President Harris was more than overqualified to lead our country into these next 4 years. However, it wasn't to be. And there was such a great celebration that this Black and Indian American woman was not going to be our next president. And what is so chilling is that there were communities that we thought, groups that we thought, from their own admissions prior to November the 5th, prior to that day, were standing 10 toes down, being very performative on their social media posts, saying that they were standing in solidarity to vote for Vice President Harris. But numbers do not lie, because when we saw the results later that evening and the election was called, we found out that there were a lot of people missing who said they were going to be voting for her. And so now the 92% are the same ones that finally got the memo. We got the memo that America does not want to include Black women into their future. But this is the thing that America fails to realize. Along with your weapons, your other strength is Black women. It is Black women on so many levels. Well, how can it be black women? Well, what about white women? Well, what about this group? Well, what about that group? And how can you say that? And what do you have to show? A lot. Our people were brought to this country, and generation after generation after generation, we have had inherited health issues, it's lower economic statuses for many of us. We've had to deal with issues within our own homes, trying to keep our families together. Ever since slavery, we have been the group of women that have had the least in this country, and yet we have been able to produce the most. Now, if that's not an American story, I don't know what else it could be. And not only do we do that, but we help to empower other groups of people, including the majority. I will go even further than that. We are able to empower white men to be greater than what you are. We understand that there is a working dynamic that is between our two groups. We can get involved in a relationship with a white man, business-wise, platonic-wise. We can know that we are coming here to produce greatness. I'm going to put something in, you're going to put something in. However, other groups of women don't have that same mentality all the time. They have the understanding that the man is going to be the lead and I'm going to stay home, or I'm going to play second fiddle, or they're afforded that ability to do that. I'm not saying black women or all black women want to do that. It's that we have traditionally not have been given that opportunity to be in that position. We're expected to come and do twice as much or the same as a man. We're expected to do the same as a white man who is the majority and holds majority of the power here in this country. And so even when you see like these, lighthearted, awesome videos, love is love. I love across the board. When you see these lighthearted videos of even love relationships, where you see the before and after, the black wife effect, the reason why it's so different, it's not because these non-black men who decided to love black women that they have decided to present to the world that this woman that I love, there's a reason why I love her, and this is why. Her love shows on the way I look, on the way that I present my own self, now how I feel about myself. I didn't know that I had this greatness in me until I got with her. And I'm not saying that no other woman in their lives has not helped them to discover greatness. It's just a little something different when it comes to black women. Now, I'm not saying that all black women here in America are perfect. Absolutely not. Because again, there's the 92%. That means that we still got 8% out there that we're looking at with side eye. Where were you at? Of course I was frustrated myself. I was not going to vote this time, not because they were saying President Biden was too old to run for office. Absolutely not. He knows what he's doing. I've said it before in one of my previous videos. I don't think he was the best communicating president. Sometimes President Biden, he felt as if, well, Americans should be smart enough to know that the reason why we do this, or Americans are not concerned about what I'm doing in the Oval Office, even though you see that the borders are open, there is a border crisis, but I'm creating policy behind the scenes to address that. We didn't know that until maybe months later. And so, no, I didn't say I was not going to vote for Biden because of his age. I was giving up on the Democratic Party, and I was actually looking for other candidates in other parties, because the Democratic Party no longer aligns with where I am at as an American. I am a conservative, middle of the road, optimistic American. Okay? I believe in traditional family. I do not say that you can't live your life the way you want to live your life. I'm just saying that for me, I feel like the focus has been taken off of traditional families in the Democratic Party, and it has been placed on to the LGBTQ plus communities, family, gender rights. And I think that what it has done is it has mixed the message for many other Americans that may not be familiar with the Democratic Party or may have been ride or die for the Democratic Party. I used to be a vice chair for our local county office. So I readily supported the Democratic Party for years, gave to it. But for these past few years, there has definitely been a disconnect for me. This next phase that's happening is now the phase of President Donald Trump, now in office. It's been over 53 days. His sidekick, Batman and Robin. Donald Trump is Batman. Elon Musk is Robin. And they're just running all over this town, running amok. Bam, whap, snap. Those. You remember reading the comic strips, or you remember watching the Batman show? And they would have bam, bop. That's exactly what they're doing. All over our government, slashing things that are being detrimental to our way of life. And also, too, to the aid that we provide all over the world to help reduce war outbreaks, famine, diseases. There's a diplomatic reason on why we send that foreign aid out to different parts of the world to help support in those areas that, unfortunately, the loss of food or the loss of stability in like having shelter, like camps and things like that can actually lead out to conflict in those areas. And so there's a science to why we do what we do, but they're just going in there just cutting it. There's like the Grim Reaper just taking their sicker and just ripping it all apart. And then while that's going on, it's quiet. Yeah, you got people making videos. Yeah, you have people making commentary. Now you're starting to see town halls come out. Now you're starting to see movement happening. You're starting to see it. But see, it can't elevate to the point of where it wants to elevate to, because there's a secret weapon missing. And that's the 92%. See, we don't have to come out there in violence. Absolutely not. That's why whatever they've presented to try to, thinking that they're using psychology to humiliate black people by trying to debunk everything that was established during the pandemic, which is very sad that it took for people to be in-housed and bored to death for them to come out and to support that. You know what? The killing of George Floyd, the way that it happened, the crime didn't match the punishment. He was suffocated to death with someone's knee over his windpipe, to the point to where he cried for his mom. And just the pure evil of that individual who swore that they were going to use their badge for good, felt joy Now, what I question is, he did it so easily to George Floyd. How many other people has he done it to? Has he only did it to the black man? Has he done it to an Asian man? Has he done it to a Latino man? I don't know. I don't know. Because I see you did it too easily to him. You see? Now, even with Ahmaud Arbery, with the shooting of him minding his business, young 19-year-old man walking, minding his business, gets shot down as if he's like being hunted in the woods like an animal. You know, they treated him, animals get better treatment than what Ahmaud Arbery had received on the day that they went after him. And you know, I mean, animals have more of a opportunity to hear their hunters come. Ahmaud didn't have that opportunity. It was so many grotesque things that had been occurring to black people, and it was just a culmination of it. In summer of 2020, it really just came to a head. And with people inside their homes, they were forced now to read and to see everything that has been going on, the violence against black men and black women and black children, and they couldn't deny it anymore. So they felt a compelling to get out there and to risk their own health at that time, going out in the streets and protesting with other Americans that were not black, and finally standing up and saying, yeah, I'm sorry. If I didn't see it then, I'm telling you that I see it now. And I apologize. I should know better. I am expected as a white person, as a Latina, as an Asian person, living in this country in these times, in these modern times. I have the education. I know. I recognize it. And I still decided it's not my problem. So Black Lives Matters movement was just a culmination of non-black people saying that we are so sorry that you felt that your life didn't matter, but it does. And so that's why people got out there in 2020 to do what they did. They didn't do that necessarily for their health. Some of it was motivated by because they were feeling cabin fever. And so sometimes that's a good thing. That helps to also get you out of the home. But during that time, it was a risky moment to do that because COVID was still in its prime. And now they think that they're insulting black people by busting up the Black Lives Matter plaza, or joking and floating around the idea of trying to appeal Officer Derek Chauvin's conviction, having him released. You know, just doing all of these wicked ideas that they're coming up with, doing all types of just wickedness, and not even just towards black people, but even doing the high raise of the hand as if they're Hitler. You know, that's a disrespect to us. Now folks here in America are making videos, making songs, pleading, oh, we need black women, can y'all please, black women, we need y'all to stand up. If you know you can do something, say something. You know, Representative Jasmine Crockett, she's out here grinding. I mean, you got so many people that are out here that want to see black women be their Statue of Liberty. And we are tired because you want us to hold up a light when injustice happens. But when injustice happens to us, our lives don't matter. You want us to hold up justice for your injustice when your benefits are being taken away, when your veterans' rights are being taken away. But guess what? Our benefits are being taken away. Some of us are veterans too. Some of us are teachers too. Some of us are farmers too. Some of us have other livelihoods that we're depending on that are being affected by these cuts as well. And you do not hear us crying from the mountaintop. Because you know why? We've been here before. Our ancestors have been here before, and we had to learn from them how to survive here. Because we know that freedom and justice and law is so fickle when it comes to us. When it comes to the color of your skin, your rights are fickle. And we have gotten to a position to where we are not saying anything. We are advising people to stay inside. That's what we're advising. For to watch the rest of your regular scheduled program that's going to happen over the next 4 years. Stay inside. As your prerogative, you want to vote during midterm elections, I encourage you to do that. But America's going to have to learn a lesson. They're going to have to learn a hard lesson. And this time, this lesson is going to perpetuate for generations. And the 92% will not be disregarded anymore, because 92% has always voted for other people's best interest. We voted for immigration laws to be reformed for the better, to protect the immigrants' rights. We've voted for the extension of rights to happen for people who are in the LGBTQ plus community, gender rights. We've been there for that. We've supported that. We've been there for white women, for them to be able to vote, for them to be able to get hired on the jobs, and then forget about us. Do you see what I'm saying? And so now we've also been out there with our Native American and indigenous brothers and sisters. We've done that. We've fought alongside with our brown folks and our Asian folks here in the United States. Wherever we can use our voice, wherever we can use our own knowledge of how to work this thing we call the American government, we are always there to lend a hand. However, when it comes to us, we are called all types of names. We are mocked. We are talked about our hair, whether we decide to wear our own hair, our own natural hair, or extensions. We are talked about our bodies, our skin color. We are called baby mamas, hoes, bees. We are referred to as loose women. And that's not true. This is a fast growing population of women in this country that understood the assignment. We understood that we do not get breaks. We do not get boots or laces. You got to show up for the job whether you want to or not. We come from the same women that helped white men run their plantations while their wives stayed inside and bought pretty dresses. We are those. We are the ones that stayed to try to hold the family together after he sold half of our babies away. We still had to show up for the job. So all of this DEI and all of this, now you're busting up Black Lives Matter. Black lives, if your life matter to you, stay inside. Stay inside. All black lives, stay inside. Because we don't want no parts, and we just want to stay in our zone. We just want to do what we need to do to be a productive citizen, keep the peace. And I'm warning our black young men and women, stay inside. The summer is getting ready to approach us. The weather is getting warm. And I know, because I was young, but I was also running the business when I was young. I know, I understand you want to be outside, but you have to be very vigilant about your safety. And you want to be able to enjoy the rest of your life and not have it cut short because you could have avoided certain areas. You could have avoided certain activities. Stay inside. Stay close to home. No, home is not always the safest place, but stay out of these streets. Find you a safe space. Read. Educate yourselves. Start to polish and refine your skills, especially our young Black American men. Refine your skills in math, in science, in tech. We're getting ready to go into a whole new division of technology. Everybody's throwing around the catchphrase of AI, artificial intelligence. We're getting ready to go into quantum now. That's a whole nother ballpark. You do not want to be completely locked out of the employment game in a year or two from now. You want to get all that you can get, and the best thing to do, the most prolific men and women in history read. They've always read. They've always refined their skills. They've always created new concepts. Innovation was always on the cusp with these people in whatever area they worked in. That's your assignment. Young Black American men, that is your assignment for summer 2025. We want to see y'all reading. Y'all get these books. You can order these books. You can read them off of your phone. We need you studying about technology, about computer science, about mathematics, and strengthening your language. Okay? Learn a new language. Most people that migrate here to the United States speak one or two or more languages. Okay? Learn a second language. At least begin to learn a second language. That is your assignment for summer 2025. We are not coming out there to march for you. That's over. I don't want to see another city burning. I don't want to see another community burning. I never did that, but I don't want to see it. And I do not encourage anybody to get out here and to march for anything. Because we marched back on November the 5th, 2024, right into those booths. We did what we were supposed to do. 2024, November the 5th. And it's all said and done now. So America, over these next 4 years, you really need to reevaluate how you handle your secret weapons. And you don't handle your nukes any kind of way. And that's the same way you need to handle your 92%. Do not handle us any type of way. We do hold a lot of beneficial power that has helped to strengthen the fabric of these United States of America, whether you want to admit it or not. Whether you want to admit it or not. A lot of y'all that are in the baby booming age, a lot of y'all were reared by Black women when your own mothers did not want to be bothered with you, and she was in the same home. Black women were hired to come in and be the caretakers of white children. Okay, they raised a lot of white children. And so what is so disappointing is your proxy mama, this is how you treat her and her kids. A lot of white children were breastfed all the way up to the 60s. From Black women that made hardly anything. Scrubbing your floors, cooking your food. And a lot of times your mama was right there in the house while your daddy went off to earn a living. And this is the thanks you give her? You know who I'm talking about. Don't act like you don't know. Now, all we're asking is the same way you treat your first secret weapon, you treat your second secret weapon the same. With some respect. With some dignity. With care. recognizing that our weapon is powerful. Our weapon is we are strong, and yet we are wise, and we know how to use those resources better than a lot of other people do, both men and women. We know how to network. We know how to delegate. We know how to do teamwork and energize along with each other in the office, in the professional field, in politics, in the financial world. We understand what synergy means to get the job done. We were the ones that had to bring in the bags, and the bales of cotton had to be so many bags. Our people, our women had to carry the same load that our men carry, and still have the babies, and still cook, and wash the clothing, and rear the children, and then also have time to take care of ourselves. That's another subject I'm going to get on. America is going to stop mentally abusing black women over our hair. America is going to stop mentally abusing black women over our hair. That's going to be my next subject. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that, because you know why black women tend to wear more hair weave and hair braiding? It was because there was never any time for the black woman to take care of herself since slavery. We had to make time to work. We had to make time to rear our children, to try to keep our spouses, to keep the family together, to cook, to also bring in the same amount of work that the black man was expected to bring in. We were trying to stay alive, keep our children alive. We didn't have time to think about, oh, how am I going to style my hair today? There was never any space for that. And even when slavery was over, we still didn't have time, because we were then now sharecropping and trying to keep alive from the clucks. We didn't have rights even then. We had nowhere to go. We traveled in bands because we had nowhere to go, unless we stayed in bondage under sharecropping, which gave us no money. Rats ate out our children. Many videos are still around to this day. Recordings of voices of black men and women that were able to be free, to see freedom after slavery. Their voices were recorded by that national project that was initiated by President FDR Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Roosevelt was the one that created, was the one that created that program, making sure that we keep a piece of history of those brave men and women that faced having to work all their lives for nothing. We didn't even have money. We worked day and night. How do you buy beauty products when you work for nothing? Where was the paycheck? And so we still have that same mindset that we still have to make things work. And so what we tend to do is we tend to try to think about, how can I maximize the time that I use on trying to make myself beautiful or presentable to the world? I want to be able to maximize my hairstyle so that I can give more of myself. And that's where a lot of these hairstyles come from. And you could ask women all over the African diaspora. You can ask black women in Africa, black women in South America, black women in Britain, black women in India, black women in Korea, black women in Russia, and black women here in America. We're going to all say the same thing. We do protective styles to help maximize our time to be able to better do other things. And yet we receive the most insults for it. And we're giving the most with the least. But that's going to be my next subject. Stay blessed, stay encouraged. Please do subscribe, like, share. I want to hear your comments, you know. Of course, I know you're not going to agree with everything I say, but it is coming from my heart. And I hope to see you in the next video, because that is going to be filled with some facts. Definitely going to bring some facts up in here. So many readings, so many books that I've read about the just continuous downgrading of black women over the years. In 2025, women who have made a mark on the world are still judged and determined not by their IQ number, but by the hairstyle they wear. That's next. Be blessed.